Remember the Jackals? The generic raiders from Vegas without much of a backstory. Here is a game about them. Well, this is not really a full game, just a small demo really. The production was abandoned 3 or 4 years ago, it seems. But what is there is promising, so I hope the solo dev resumes the work. Anyway, let's go. In the spring of 2141, the doors of the overpopulated Vault 15 were opened. 4 groups of Vault dwellers ventured out into the wastes. In the winter of the same year, the Jackals began raiding the nearby settlements. They fought other gangs and, after losing to the Khans, were pushed further north and east. Eventually, the Jackals were almost completely destroyed by the NCR military and were forced even further east into the Mojave Desert. In 2241, one of the Jackal groups still controlled a patch of land in California. They have no intention of retreating. Confronting the external as well as internal enemies, they are trying to make it in the inhospitable wasteland, because war never changes. The writing is a little awkward, I editorialized it somewhat. Please don't make fun of the English title. In fact, seeing something like this should excite you. The lack of English literacy correlates with good Fallout. The further east you go, the better the fan games. The Czech Fallout Resurrection is pretty solid, no complaints from me, but Fallout Nevada made in the ass end of Siberia is just god tier. Alright, so let's create our Jackal. The mod makes several changes to this screen. Most notably, we are not going to be playing as the Vault Suit guy. Fuck the Vault Suit guy. Instead, the character is represented by the cool leather jacket sprite. The game is committed to the theme. Along with purely aesthetic changes comes a new trait, Raider of the Wastes. We get a penalty to our charisma and intelligence. That's 2 special points. A very severe downside. But in return, we get amazing plus 15% damage resistance, as well as a bonus to damage caused by our unarmed and melee attacks. Not bad. You are in Dean's cellar. It's dark and smells like rat shit. The boss has an important task for us, but before we venture out into the wasteland, we're supposed to receive a Pip-Boy from Dean the Mechanic. Not a standard issue for raiders. We have one, but it's damaged. Probably taken from a dead Vault dweller. A microchip needs to be replaced or something. I don't know anything about this nerd stuff. We have a spare microchip right here behind the closed door. This is an ersatz tutorialette. See, we don't just use our lockpicking skill as a soy Vault dweller would. Instead, we bash it open. There is no need for a real tutorial, no need to have any of this shit explained to you. If you are playing this, you played Fallout. You probably played way too much Fallout. The mod was made by a community contributor called Fox. Let's take a look at his portfolio. He makes curated mod compilations for old games. These are torrent files that contain a bunch of mods and utilities with everything already set up, tweaked and working, as well as the game itself. Is this legal? Of course not, but the audience is too small to monetize, and the games he does are usually very old. Fox also makes mods for mods. Like, check out this NPC add-on he made for Fallout Nevada. There is a new dog follower and a tribal, both with talking heads. Here's a ghoul companion, but I think this one was scrapped. These mods are enjoyed by the audience of dozens of people. He also maintains an archive of scans of old gaming magazines with Fallout content. I remember reading and rereading this specific article as a kid. It says right here that it's possible to get to the Enclave oil rig in Fallout 2 via the Hobologist shuttle.
I don't think so.
This is fake news, and I wasted many hours of my life trying to complete the game this way. The Jackal mod runs at a slightly higher resolution than I'm used to. Most of the new art assets seem to be designed to be displayed with this resolution specifically, so I'm not gonna fuck with it. But I'm playing this on a small-ish laptop and the objects on the screen are tiny. The guy in metal armor is Butcher Jack and he's in charge. The Jackals caught an NCR spy. After interrogation, he confessed he was communicating with Mad Fox, Jack's second-in-command. The traitor felt something was up and ran. Our job is to hunt him down, kill him, cut his head off, and bring it to Butcher Jack as proof. We are new to the Jackal, so Fox wouldn't know who we are. Kill this bitch. Jack gives us a knife. There are several choices. We can perform our mercy killing on the spy, or we can be extra brutal, twist the knife so to speak, or we can attack the raiders, which I imagine ends the adventure. I chose the violent option because, you know, it's Fallout Story Jackal, not Fallout Story Pussy Bitch. The Raider HQ is an old pre-war gas station, and we have a car. It's a little buggy. Is this a Fallout Tactics sprite? Yeah, it's a Brotherhood recon vehicle. Fits into the classic engine aesthetic really well, and it has a functioning trunk. The tribal slave lady is working the open-air kitchen, and here is a slave pen. Both tribal and civilized captives are present. Hey, do you have a minute? I'm not sure how to approach this. See, I dropped a stim pack down the toilet. I didn't have time to recover it, and I can't leave the slaves unguarded. If you bring it to me, I give you 100 bottle caps. Deal? Don't worry, sweetie. Of course I'll bring it back. We use the science skill on the toilet to scientifically determine that indeed there is something stuck inside. And then we use the repair skill and the character makes an attempt to grab it. But it ain't a stim pack, it's just shit, which we are now covered in. The guard lady just laughs at us. This is a low trust kind of environment. But man's best friend will never betray us. Another little questlet involves us feeding the dogs. The jackals keep around quite a few of them, useful for slave raids, I guess. The gang maintains a little farm not far from the gas station. A few of the slaves escaped. They couldn't have gotten far. Butcher Jack wants us to find them and make an example of them. Which we do, as it's not hard. This is what caps look like in this mod. A very nice readable sprite. The old warehouse is the Jackal's training facility. The guy in charge calls us fatty and asks if we want to get fit. We have a strength of 7, which is enough to break the punching bag and impress the trainer. Unfortunately, we are not skilled enough in repair to put the thing back together. This is a very simple but fun quest where we hunt geckos with another jackal, and they are surprisingly tough opponents.
Пора перезагрузиться.
Time to reload, he says. We do succeed eventually, but the geckos knock out our partner. I use this opportunity to take all items from his inventory, but he doesn't seem to mind, and then even teaches us how to skin the creatures. The last thing we can do in this location is to find a runaway slave who is trapped in the Scorpion Cave. Our target, Fox the Traitor, is probably hiding in the town of Woodstock, says this guy. He also shares the story of how they got the car. Something is wrong with it, the engine doesn't work. The slaves had to move it like this. The game's encounter table isn't set up properly. There are way too many high-level encounters. Fire geckos, aliens, death claws, floaters and centaurs, and then there are these shitty dog encounters, just perfectly optimized to be as unfun as possible. At first, I thought the world map was very small, even smaller than in the Czech Fallout Resurrection, and that would have been fine. But actually, it's just shaped like this. Alright, let's go visit the game's other finished location. A quiet place, a town of trappers, as we would later learn. They hunt geckos. You make enough money and then you move to Reno. That's the career of choice here. The robbed guy is a monk from a place called the Abbey. This is a reference to a location that was cut from Fallout 2 and then subsequently restored by fan patches. The Abbey is a monastery north of the ghoul community of Gecko. The monks were supposed to preserve knowledge, kind of like the followers of the apocalypse. These groups are not really the same. Team Kane explains, it was supposed to be an independent organization, probably of Jesuits or something like them. The monks did not understand the knowledge in the books they preserved. They treated them like holy materials, to be read and copied and cared for, but not acted upon. Anyway, the monk's Brahmin is sick, I think. We are not a qualified medical professional. In fact, we are sort of the exact opposite of that, so we can't tell what's wrong with it. The store owner gives us 2 little quests. Love to see the use of the Asian sprite. We are to go to the nearby sawmill and get rid of the terrorizing mole rats. They're actually quite dangerous, and we are only level 2. The other task is to repair the generator so that the streetlights have power. You know what? I think I'll try my luck with the mole rats. Fallout Story Jackal, not Fallout Story Maintenance Technician. So, in the tutorial, the game taught us to bash open doors. This is a genuinely useful skill, and you even get XP for doing that. Another fun little side adventure. We find a holodisc hinting at a treasure someone buried underneath the rocks near the old tree. That's the tree, I guess. And the treasure is a vehicle part. I suppose the game will make us repair the buggy before it's drivable. This guy is an ex-NCR military officer who got dishonorably discharged because of an accident. He works as a mechanic and, despite the questionable background, appears to have decent ethics. Says he won't offer his weapon repair services to suspicious outsiders. We got a tip that Fox the Traitor left visiting a woman in this here motel. He wasn't the only one. The Jackals visited this place recently, got shit-faced and violent, kidnapped one of the girls. Well, let's go ask at the gas station command HQ.
Ваша жизнь закончилась в пустыне.
The owner of the car says he'll sell it to us for 10,000 caps. Seems like it was planned as a big mid-game investment. The woman is indeed here. We take her back to Woodstock. Next time the guards will simply shoot the freaks who cross the line. Fox is in prison, she says. He had to sort out some issues with the NCR, so he went north to Prison City. The game actually says Prison City, but I assume it's English. This reminded me that in the early Morrowind localization materials, they spelled it Morrowind, and you had forum nerds debate if this was actually a correct pronunciation. The woman doesn't know anything else. And this is where the content ends. It's a tiny demo, but it's pretty good. The raider gimmick works. I demand more. Fox, my guy, you should finish the mod. With the newfound power of the classic RPG YouTube Mafia, we can elevate the audience of your project from 12 people to 100. Let's read old Fallout reviews he collected. This is from Game.exe magazine, issue 11, 1997. Visually, Fallout looks weirdly good. Nice isometric view and well-detailed backgrounds. It's not Diablo, of course, but nevertheless. I completely forgot that the old gaming media, at least in this language, was basically just a random hot take generator. The opinions were so arbitrary that they might as well been written by an AI. This is from Navigator of the Gaming World, issue 8, 1997. Fake diversity. Weapons and armor are among the most essential things in any RPG. Their diversity in Fallout is fairly significant. There are 6 pistols, 7 rifles, 6 energy weapons, 10 melee weapons, 8 armor types, but you can find these only via rigorous exploration, by doing all the quests and by looking inside all the containers. In reality, you probably won't see more than 14 or 17 weapons. That's not a whole lot, not for an RPG genre game. I don't know what to say. This is the strangest complaint I've ever heard. Certain monotony of gameplay in Fallout is far from its only flaw. Unfortunately, money stopped mattering from the first hours of the game, when in a nearby camp you take out a group of 15 people, which is effortless to do. Each of them drops a leather bulletproof vest that costs $800. If you sell all these vests, you get $12,000. You can buy anything with that kind of money, and the player can obtain the sum practically in the beginning of the game. This is almost a real argument, but I feel if you manage to kill the cons early and then have the patience to do multiple trips to the hub in order to exchange all the crap you collected for the suit of combat armor Jacob sells, well, you probably deserve it. A hack job. Certain moments make one doubt the developers worked very hard. For one, some conversations are accompanied by animated inserts, while others are silent dialogue pics. I don't understand what prevented them from releasing the game not on 1, but say on 2 CDs and doing the voice acting for all NPCs. This guy is not impressed with the talking heads feature. Okay, that's probably too much work, but how would you explain the fact that in one of the towns there are 2 characters with identical appearance and voice, even though they are not related? Isn't that strange, do you agree? Does anyone know what he's talking about? I think he literally just spoke to the same NPC twice. All Fallout 1 talking heads are quite distinct, and people's interest in RPG is growing at an incredible rate. Otherwise, Fallout would not have received such wild popularity, spawning a whole galaxy of fan sites on the internet web. But at the same time, it turns out that game developers developers have already forgotten how to make role-playing games. Fallout contains a fantastic and diverse game world that is implemented poorly and lazily. Value for the genre, 7 out of 10. And here is a very strange article from the Game Land magazine. This was written in 1997, before Fallout was de-GURPSed. So the author seems to think that GURPS is Fallout's real name, and that GURPS is both a role-playing system, and it's also when a video game has an isometric camera. The heart of the plot, around which all events in GURPS evolve, at least in its computer implementation, is about survival after nuclear war. The player starts in a huge underground bomb shelter called Vault, which means crypt. In the article's conclusion, the author attempts to summarize Fallout in a single sentence. It's a GURPS-based Crusader made in turn-based / real-time style like in Jagged Alliance inside a classic roleplay world. And this is not even wrong, TBH. Crusader is a fun old action game that looked like this. Anyway, I hope this will turn out to be a first look kind of video, and there will be more of the Jackal game. The demo certainly took a lot of work, and there seems to be a pretty good design philosophy behind it. One needs to be truly committed to the art to make these huge complex projects that 5 people end up playing, and then 2 of them would annoy you with comments about how your interpretation of the Brotherhood of Steel defiled the moral compass of Fallout or some shit. Nerds, am I right? See you guys in Balmora, Kazakhstan in a few weeks.